Welcome to Tom Myers versus the rest of the world. The confirmation hearings for Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson for the Supreme Court have concluded. She doesn't really appear to be getting that much Republican support. At the moment, she has Susan Collins. That's about it. I suppose it would be different if she were a white guy who was being accused of sexual assault and was blaming everything on her love of beer. In an interview on a podcast hosted by Trump election lawyer Jenna Ellis, Kyle Rittenhouse stated that Joe Biden never returned his messages requesting a meeting with him. Jenna Ellis responded by saying, "You think that's bad? Try getting farted on by Rudy Giuliani. If it's any consolation, Kyle, Ted Cruz never got a meeting with Biden, and he just looks like a mass murderer. We had freezing temperatures, heavy wind, and snow throughout a good portion of the country. That led a Maryland Republican legislator to ask on the State House floor for someone to explain climate change. The perfect response to that would be invent a time machine, go back to this past weekend, and stand outside. And now, on with the show. Please join me in welcoming Jeff Hysen and Abby Mello."
Hello. Hey, Tom.
Jeff, Abby, welcome. What's been going on with you this week?
Well, Tom, I'm a sub in the Montgomery County school system. And the other day I saw something that I had never seen before. So again, I'm a sub and there's not a lot of respect. So I'm subbing in art, and all of a sudden a school administrator comes in to escort a student out who apparently wasn't in the class. And I was told that she was cutting another class to hang out with her friend in this class. So she was cutting school to be in school.
Nerd.
I mean, that is... you should try teaching in a place like Harford County. That is a lot more commonplace than you would think.
I couldn't understand.
But in Harford County, Tom, they don't notice, and the kids just stay in whatever classroom they want. No one catches it.
There's fewer students than in Montgomery County, so it's pretty hard. I mean, people up there can't even count that high, but they know the difference between the 12 students that attend one particular class, and then suddenly if there's 6 that come in, if they're sitting on each other's laps, that's usually a pretty big indicator. We're slow up there, but we catch on.
Maybe when they cut in Harford County, they go to the Royal Farms. In Montgomery County, they cut, but they stay on the campus.
Oh, when I was a kid, it was 7-Eleven or nothing.
Okay.
That's how it goes.
Will shock no one that I have never skipped school in my entire life. That should shock absolutely no one. I made a nerd joke earlier, but I was the biggest nerd.
So it was self-deprecating is what you're saying.
No, I'm still a huge nerd. I liked school so much. I did it for my entire 20s, and then I became a professor. That's how much I love school.
So you can do the nerd joke then. It's fine. Joining us this week to go ahead and discuss various world events, all the way from Kyiv, Ukraine, comedian Misha Kalhin.
Hi, everybody. Yeah.
Misha, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. I have to preface this by saying that you're sort of the first international guest that we've ever had on this show. So welcome. And it was a little bit of a logistical nightmare because trying to work out the time differences, I don't really wake up and fully function until mid-afternoon here on the East Coast. And that's about when people in Misha's time zone are going to bed. Meanwhile, Abby's a college professor, so she has a full-time job. Jeff is just retired and he bitches about the New York Mets 24/7. So really, I want to, I oversimplified that a bit. So really, I just want to go ahead and thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Tom.
So we chatted a little bit a couple times before the show. I mean, you're originally from Belarus. You now live in Ukraine, presumably to get away from a lot of what Putin's trying to make sure happens there now, pretty much.
Well, not really. I'm running away from my own government, because I'm from Belarus, which is now, as you probably know, is now run by Lukashenko. He's not the president. He's more like the usurper. How do you say that word? Usurper. Anyway, so he should not be the president because we all voted for somebody else, right? So he's kind of siding with Putin. Although our troops are not directly involved in the conflict right now, in the war, but the Belarusian territory is used to launch missiles from, and also for transit of the troops and everything. So it's not a good situation for Belarusians. But prior to that, we were quite welcome in Ukraine, because after 2020 elections, everybody who went out into the streets, maybe you remember, was like. We had like a revolution attempt. And after that, we had sort of waves of repressions. And so, exactly. So I had to leave because of that. So I was a refugee before it was cool,
Before we started recording, you were telling me that you had, and this is just the realities of what's going on over there. There was an air raid siren, like not that long ago. So.
Yeah, we get them pretty regularly. Basically, my experience of the war, the first few days were really scary because first you hear it's like, oh, the war has started. Now, I'm in a special situation where my family has, they're in Poland now, so they're safe, and they left around the 15th. Because of the intelligence that we got, that the first, if you remember, right, the first intelligence that we got was February 15th, and then it was 24th, right? So it was just basically me in Kiev, right? And I thought like, okay, the war has started. The war started in 2014, as far as I was concerned, right? And so it's just something abstract. You're like, okay, the war has started. It's like when you live in Arkansas and you say like, okay, we're bombing Afghanistan. Okay, like it's a sort of something far away. And that's what people in Ukraine lived with for the last 8 years. But now it's like in day one, and the tanks, and they have, some operative groups already in Kiev, in the capital. And that was pretty scary, right? And so during those few days, there were way more than anti-aircraft weapons, right? So before we started recording, I was just basically talking about the difference, right? Because I've also seen maybe 2 kilometers or maybe 5 kilometers from my house, something hit the ground, and everybody felt it, and then we saw the smoke for a while there, right? And then since then, for the last maybe like 2 or 3 weeks, it's been pretty mild. We get sirens regularly every day, maybe 5 sirens a day, but it's probably, from what I think is just anti-aircraft. They're trying to, hit missiles, and I think they're doing a really good job. I know they're doing a really good job, and, I'm really grateful to Ukrainian military, for keeping me safe.
Vladimir Putin's belief that Russia would achieve an easy victory over Ukraine was short-lived. Ukraine has held off Russian forces at their border and has even taken back suburbs around Kyiv. That, combined with the economic effects of the international sanctions, sees an exodus not only of Russian citizens from the country, but also of advisors at the Kremlin, as reported in this MSNBC clip.
Tonight, there are growing signs of dissension in the ranks of the inner circle surrounding Russian dictator Vladimir Putin. The Kremlin is confirming today that Anatoly Chubais, the man you see here next to Putin, has stepped down from his role as Moscow's climate envoy, making him the highest-ranking official to break with Putin over the invasion of Ukraine. Multiple outlets are now reporting that he has left the country and is now in Turkey. In the 1990s, Chubais oversaw the privatization of the Soviet economy and even reportedly helped Putin get his first Kremlin job in the mid-1990s. Today, Bloomberg reports that Russia's highly regarded central bank governor Elvira Nabiullina sought to resign after Vladimir Putin ordered an invasion of Ukraine, only to be told by the president to stay, according to 4 people with knowledge of the discussions. Bloomberg reports that sources say her stepping down now would have been seen as a betrayal by Vladimir Putin. The New York Times is reporting this about the defense minister. Even Russia's defense minister, Sergei Shoigu, who vacations with Mr. Putin and has been spoken of as a potential presidential successor, has suffered a loss of standing. Mr. Shoigu has not been shown meeting with Mr. Putin in person since February 22nd, when he and his top military commander, General Valery Gerasimov, sat at the end of a long table as Mr. Putin, on the opposite end, ordered them to place Russia's nuclear forces at a higher level of readiness.
We see this a lot in dictatorships, where you have the close advisors who they're either silenced or they leave on their own because they maybe sense that their positions are untenable or the end is near. I mean, it's a pretty, for the most part at the moment, a pretty non-violent way to go about it. But I don't know, Misha, do you see like this is a sign that maybe like the Putin presidency or the regime might be coming to an end, if not soon? I mean,
yeah, but the people that they use as examples are not good examples. The first guy, Chubais, he was from Yeltsin's team. So he was in the 90s, one of the architects of the new market economy. And later he was in charge of Rosnano, which is a very, very ineffective way to launder the money or something. Anyway, but right before the war and everything, I think a few months before the war, he was essentially retired. But they kept him in this very nominal role just because of his ties with the Democratic Party. And the fact that he was able to leave and he was not stopped by the KGB at the border, just kind of shows you that he's not very important, right? The same thing with Nabiullina. She's the only person who's pretty much competent in that whole effing organization, so that's why they didn't let her leave, because then the economy will crumble. Also, they kind of neutered the army. The army has not produced any generals or anybody who has the balls to just kind of overthrow this guy, right? And so the main people who have the power is the FSB, which is the KGB, right? And these people are super, super loyal to Putin. And they have zero brains. And these are the people that will wake up probably, last. Like everybody has to sort of, half the population needs to die or starve to death or something before these guys will start starving to death, because as you've seen before, every low-ranking officer, when they raid his house, he has like billions of dollars, like ungodly amount of money, and nobody in that organization. I don't even want to, I really want to know how much money they have, like the top ranking guys. But when these guys who actually have the power to do anything, when they turn, I don't know, because these are the closest people to Putin. And so when they talk about oligarchs, Putin sort of eliminated all the real oligarchs essentially in the early 2000s. And so everybody else, like Abramovich, what can he do, at this point? So basically, yes, somebody needs to do it, like somebody from his inner circle. But what this clip is not showing is they're not showing his actual inner circle. And Shoigu is actually, he's back. And Shoigu, there's a long story with this guy too, but he's no army guy, who's actually giving orders. Like, have you ever thought about this? Like in Ukraine, there's a guy with the last name and with the picture, who is actually in charge of this whole operation, right? And on the Russian side, Shoigu is not. He was probably on a bender just a week ago, right? He's not a military guy. He's the MCS guy, which is like the sort of rescue team, right? Which is great, but he's not a military guy. So the main point is, yeah, the inner circle is going to turn, but not the people in the video.
Having just been caught soliciting help from Vladimir Putin trying to get dirt on Joe Biden and his family for a potential 2024 run, Donald Trump once again shows us his grasp of foreign policy, leaves little to be desired. The only network willing to accept his presidential proclamations at this point is Fox Business, as is demonstrated in this clip.
So what do you do now? You said you'd maybe do more than just send in the MiG jets. All right. What more?
What I would do is we have tremendous military capability. And what we can do without planes, to be honest with you, without 44-year-old jets, what we can do is enormous. And we should be doing it. And we should be helping them to survive. And they're doing an amazing job. But, you know, I was the one that sent in the javelins. I mean, everyone refuses to acknowledge that. And I took a lot of heat. And I sent it in very openly and glowingly. And they said Obama sent blankets and Trump sent javelins. Well, nobody knew how well those javelins would do and how well they... But those javelins that knocked out all the tanks, those were sent by me. And we sent them in large numbers, too. I didn't even realize at the time when I sent them, I said, man, you know, that's a lot of stuff we're sending, but let's do it. Let them have a chance. Who would have thought that they would have been so powerful, the way they protected that country, but they need other kinds of help. And one thing I do rapidly is that get the oil flowing, because if you reduce the price of oil significantly, that war is going to end. That war is going to end. You know the expression, what you need for war is three things: money, money, and money.
I mean, he was the guy who, campaigned on the idea of running against Sleepy Joe. Meanwhile, in that clip, he just sounds like, he wants to get off the phone after a lengthy conversation with one of his kids, namely Eric, probably.
Meanwhile, today, the United States released oil reserves. So the price of gas is going to continue to go down, but you're not going to hear about that from the right. Misha, before you mentioned that you like Zelensky better as a president than as an actor or comedian. Well, the guy you just saw, we liked him better as a reality show host than as a president.
Yeah, and we really didn't like him that much as a TV show host, to be fair. I mean, he was just kind of someone we tolerated. Like, he just wanted to fill airwaves. We didn't have to pay writers to write anything. Like, he was just, let's just give this fucker a show and maybe he'll stay in the wings.
As a Belarusian, to me, the way I view it is, I view it as you guys are just lucky because you have one guy changes the other and your system doesn't crumble, and you had this fool in power and yet everything is functioning. Like back in 2016, I thought like, oh, surely this is the beginning of the end, but it's fine, So there you go. Is that, hey, you feel better now? But about the javelins, the javelins are great and they're very widely used, and I've seen what it does on the fields. Oh, you should see it. There's nothing left. You look at the site, there's just broken tanks. You don't even see people. It just doesn't even leave remnants of people. It's insane. But the problem is that we've had enough of the javelins, enough with the effing javelins, because this is the arms, that you arm guerrilla troops, all these, this is small scale. What we really need is something that closes the sky, So anyway, that's sort of the message from Ukraine. Something that can really make what really makes the difference. That can free Mariupol, which is the heaviest situation right now. We need these serious or like these fighter jets. I'm not very good with all of this, but essentially we need to change the situation in the sky. Russia has greater dominance in the skies, and we need to sort of tip that, because on the ground we're doing great. Most of the Russian tanks, are gone already. And they're really doing really well on the ground. And it's springtime. the trees are starting to bloom, and it's perfect timing for the for our guerrilla, for our, people on the ground here. So it's great. What we really need is support, but also negotiation. This is great that, after this negotiation in Turkey, this is the first time they opened up the corridor, which was not the fake corridor, which they've been doing in the past, opening it up and then just start shooting, which all these sneaky things that they've been doing. And these are all war crimes that are going to be investigated. And of course, Putin's going to pay for it and Russia's going to pay for it.
I think it's interesting because, Trump was saying this and you kind of picked up on it and ran with the idea that, and the whole time as you were talking, I was thinking all of the answers they have suggested are like how the Ukraine can fight back more. And no one is talking about what we can do to just stop the Russians. It's like you're looking at, to me, it's like the wrong side of the coin, or it's only one side of the coin. And so, yeah, fighting back with bigger, better things is an option, but like you said, the negotiations trying to just stop what the fuck they're doing could be an option.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Russia is, the casualties of Russian soldiers are just immense, but they're only matched by the casualties of Ukrainian civilians. They're not losing the military because their military is top notch, and they're motivated and they're kicking ass. And they're going to be, in the books, history books. And it's going to be one of these like Israel army, whatever, Ukrainian army, like it's going to be top armies of the world, right? So that's, having said that, we need to think about the civilians. Think about Mariupol. 0 houses unharmed from the bombings. Imagine a city of 500,000 people. I'm not sure, but like a couple 100,000 or something like that, right? Several 100,000. And please correct me if I'm wrong, right? But all the cities, all the buildings in that cities have been bombed or are ruined to some extent, And, that's just mind-boggling. And for a while, a lot of people, of course, fled, but not everybody, and the stories that we're hearing are just, honestly, are just awful, man. And it matches the atrocities of the Nazis and everything. And I think we are going to have a Nuremberg trials all over again. Like, we haven't learned anything. And it's just the news cycle is just shorter now or whatever. So the wars don't have to take that long. It's just weird, information kind of speeds it up now. And the propaganda machine, Goebbels was a little child compared to what Russian media is doing. Simonyan, RT, and their, media. Fox News is actually... what do they say? They're balanced or whatever, fair and balanced. That's exactly what they are compared to Russian propaganda.
Yeah, they don't say that anymore. I mean, they learned that enough people saw through that bullshit. I mean,
yeah, no, but honestly,
but I take your point. Yeah,
Russian television, it looks like something. You remember RoboCop? RoboCop, and they have this like weird alternate universe sort of TV. Like, that's what it looks like. Like, I haven't watched the TV on the regular for the last like 20 years or something. And when I would just go to somebody's house and they would have TV on, it looked exactly like that. You're like, there's no effing way. Like, Trump sounds sane compared to them. You know what I'm saying?
Damn.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
It turned up to 11.
Jeff is just,
wow.
Jeff might have a stroke now, just hearing you say that. American support for the people of Ukraine has been so plentiful that we need to take to innovative ways to bring attention to it. In this clip, one speaker at a city council meeting in Plano, Texas, goes to unique measures to show his disdain for Russia.
Hello, Council. My name's Primetime 99 Alex Stein, and I have a little presentation for you today. I have a little audio accompaniment, but I want to take a moment to think about the people of Ukraine and what they're going through. So I prepared a little song for them. Let me turn this on. I really want to try to help the people out there. Okay, guys? So let me just get it going. They call me Primetime 99 Alex Stein. Hope you guys like my flavor. Come on. Prime time 99 on the grind all the time. Go insane for Ukraine. A bullet in Putin's brain. I'm prime time, always on the grind, always gotta shine. And you know it's no lie.
My best friend.
What? Oh, excuse me. Come on, audio. Where are we going? Now we're cooking, guys. Put a bullet in Putin's brain. Do it for the Ukraine. Before I go insane, let me antibacterial my body at the party. Sipping Bacardi, you know the flow. And I am a pimp, cause I am on the blim. Eating lots of steak and shrimp. One more time, I'm 99. And you know I grind and shine. Gas price is way too high. Vladimir Putin needs to die. Gas price is way too high. Vladimir needs to die. I'm the truth in the booth. Take my picture. I'm a winner. I'ma eat you for dinner. Okay.
You want to go to?
I just want to say, I love you. We need to take out Vladimir Putin, like Lindsey Graham said. Thank you, Mayor Mullins. I appreciate the time. Peace. God bless you all. Primetime Stein on Instagram. Thank you.
We got you down. We got you down.
The next speaker is Brian Wellington.
I mean, mad props to the guy for doing that. And, meanwhile, I have a theory that he does this like at every single meeting because the people on the dais were just looking like, oh, it's this fucker again. Who knows what shit he's going to come up with this week.
How's Brian Wellington supposed to follow that?
I really want to know what Brian Wellington had to say.
No, but yeah, you know what I was thinking? There's a lot of this protest art, and it's usually not very good. His is actually good. But I guess, yeah, the problem is enough with the showing of support. Like, we got it. It's great. I'm actually quite annoyed. Everybody keeps asking me like every day, are you still safe? I'm sick of telling people, yeah, I'm safe. Like, ugh, stop. Right. And the worst is like people from Belarus will be like, oh, you still in Kiev? Let me try to get you out of here. And I'm like, you're in Belarus. Like, that's even worse. You're effed way more than I am. I can just get hit by a missile. That's fine. Then you just die. But at least if I survive, I'm going to live in the free world, and you still, that's the reason I left Belarus, because you can't be honest and walk down the street because like if you have the red, white flag on you or something, or if you say anything publicly, you can go to jail, and some of the people that are close to me, they went to jail twice. Anyway, it's a long story short. And so he was facing basically criminal charges and he was going to go to jail for like an extended period of time. That's why we all left, because anyway, lots of people in Belarus are facing charges or are in prison now for political reasons. That's why I couldn't stay there. And so now everybody who's left, like, I feel like they're way, they're in danger, in way more danger than I am. At least for me, everything is black and white. I'm kind of grateful to this war because like, I know which side I'm on. And I know I can never go back to Belarus unless I'm with the AK-47, it's crazy, right? But,
On that note, that's our show. I want to thank Jeff Hysen, Abby Mello, and Misha Kalhin. This episode was written and hosted by Tom Myers with panelists Jeff Hysen and Abby Mello and guest Misha Kalhin. Theme music by Jeroen van den Hurek. Executive producers Tom Myers, Matt Connarton for ipmNation, and Eddie Carson for Odyssey Radio. Thank you for listening, and please visit tommyers.us.